It is ridiculous that we have even gotten to this place and that the Democrats have continued to shut down the government with 35 days, our air traffic controllers continuing to work unpaid, every single major airline in our country coming out and begging the Democrats to please reopen the government. And you had a Democrat staffer who was quoted, I believe in Politico a few weeks back, saying, short of planes falling out of the sky, we are not going to reopen the government. That is a reckless and dangerous statement from someone who didn't want to put their name on that statement, but we know it came from the Democrat Party. And I think we're very clear. We want to reopen the government so we can resume travel in the safest and most efficient way possible, especially as we head into the busiest travel season of the month. We have Thanksgiving in a few weeks. And so Americans across the country need to make it very clear to their Democrat representatives that we want this government to be reopened so we can resume safe and efficient travel. Fran.
Karoline, as of last I checked, the president still had not commented on the death of former Vice President Dick Cheney. Is the White House involved in the funeral arrangements in any way? Does the president plan to speak at the funeral? Has he spoken to anyone in the Cheney family today? And does the White House have an opinion on whether or not the former Vice President should lie in honor or stay in the Capitol?
I don't believe the White House is involved in that planning, or at least hasn't gotten to it yet. I know the president is aware of the former vice president's passing, and as you saw, flags have been lowered to half staff in accordance with statutory law. Jasmine.
Thank you. Back on the question of the filibuster, how much political capital is President Trump willing to expend to get Republicans to do what he's asking? I mean, will we see him at the Hill? Will he be calling folks over here? What exactly is President Trump planning to do outside of these true socials and maybe some of these private conversations to get Republicans to fall in line?
Look, I think you'll see. I think you'll see the president continue to engage very strongly and consistently with his friends on Capitol Hill. I don't have any meetings to read out for you at this time, but I think you should stay tuned and keep your eyes on Truth Social on this matter. The president's making his position on it quite clear. And again, he is right. Republicans need to play tough. We know that this is what the Democrats will do if they are ever given the keys to power again. And he wants to pass as many good pieces of legislation as we possibly can for our country and for our people. That includes election integrity reforms. It includes additional tax policy. It includes, fixing our immigration system further in ways that only Congress can. And the president fears with a Democrat Party that is so radical and opposes everything he does and everything he says, this is the only option for Republicans to move forward. Karen.
Question. President Trump said to CBS in the 60 Minutes interview that he did not know the Binance founder, which he pardoned. What exactly did he mean for that? I know it caused.
He means he does not know him personally. He means he does not have a personal relationship with this individual. And when it comes to pardons, the White House takes them with the utmost seriousness, and the president understands the responsibility that he has as president to issue clemency and issue pardons to individuals who are seeking that. That's why we have a very thorough review process here that moves with the Department of Justice and the White House counsel's office. There's a whole team of qualified lawyers who look at every single pardon request that ultimately make their way up to the President of the United States. He's the ultimate final decision maker. And he was very clear when he came into office that he was most interested in looking at pardoning individuals who were abused and used by the Biden Department of Justice and were over-prosecuted by a weaponized DOJ. And the individual you're referring to, that was certainly the case. Even the judge in his case said that the sentencing that the Biden administration was asking for was egregious and went too far. And so the president is correcting that wrong, and he has officially ended the Biden administration's war on the cryptocurrency industry, and I think that's the message he sent with this pardon. Karen, yes.
Back on the issue of back pay for furloughed workers, you said that the White House is open to discussing that with Democrats, but what would that discussion even be? There was a law, the president signed it in 2019. What could a discussion look like? Why is that even open for discussion?
Look, Karen, as I said, Republicans are talking about that with Democrats right now, and I don't want to get in the middle of those sensitive conversations. But as we've complied with the SNAP order, the White House, the administration is always going to comply with the laws. We're always going to comply with the ruling of judges across the country. But the Republicans are discussing this matter with Democrats right now.
Why would there even be a consideration of not paying those workers?
Tom Dempsey with News Nation. Big day in the Supreme Court tomorrow with President Trump's tariff policy facing a legal challenge. What's at stake with that case? And if the Supreme Court rules against the Trump administration, what is Plan B for trade policy?
I'll tell you, the White House is always preparing for Plan B. it would be imprudent of the president's advisors not to prepare for such a situation. With that said, we are 100% confident in the president and his team's legal argument in the merits of the law in this case, and we remain optimistic that the Supreme Court is going to do the right thing. The importance of this case cannot be overstated. The president must have the emergency authority to utilize tariffs. Look at what President Trump has been able to do with the leverage and the power of tariffs. He's been able to sign peace deals all over the world and end global conflicts and literally save lives. He's been able to bring in trillions of dollars of investments into our country. In fact, this year alone, we are going to cut the deficit by $600 billion, namely because of the president's effective use of tariffs. And the president strongly believes that economic security is a matter of national security, and tariffs have a lot to do with that. And this case is not just about President Trump. It's about the use of this emergency authorization for tariffs for future presidents and administrations to come, and we're confident and hopeful that the Supreme Court will do the right thing. Kristen.
Why did President Trump get an MRI during his recent visit to Wall Street?
Look, as President Trump said, he would inquire with the physicians. I'll check back on that. But as the physical itself stated, Kristen, and as you all know, because you were all witness to it, every single day the president is in optimal physical health. This was a follow-up appointment, and we provided a detailed readout of that physical. I'm happy to give it to you again, and I can inquire further.
With all due respect, an MRI is a very specific procedure. It's done on a part of the body looking for something specific, so it's not generally part of any kind of routine checkup. And in addition, President Trump has said that he wants to be transparent. He told us to ask the doctors, which we have and have not heard back. Why don't we have more information on this?
As I said, I'll check back for you. Go ahead.
Caroline, can you update us on the mediation efforts this administration is leading in Sudan, trying to achieve a ceasefire there?
Sure, yes. The United States is actively engaged in efforts to bring about a peaceful resolution to the terrible conflict in Sudan. We remain committed to working with our international partners, including Quad members, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, as well as others, to lead a negotiated peace process that addresses both the immediate humanitarian crisis and the longer-term political challenges. I actually spoke with Secretary Rubio about this morning, as of course there's been, kind of an uptick in recent reporting on the matter, and he assured me that the administration is very much engaged. We're in pretty frequent communication with those Arab partners that I just mentioned, and we want to see this conflict come to a peaceful end, just as we have with so many others, but the reality is it's a very complicated situation on the ground right now. Yes.
Hi, yes. Just trying to go back into the subject of Mexico. Is the Trump administration planning to send U.S. troops to Mexico to combat drug cartels, as reported by other outlets?
That's not something I would confirm from this podium if it were happening, so I will not comment on that. Eamon.
Thank you, Karoline. Why did the president decide not to go to the Supreme Court tomorrow? He'd indicated earlier that he might want to go and attend in person.
Yeah.
Now he's saying he's not going to go. Why?
The president did have an interest in attending the Supreme Court hearing tomorrow, as I just expressed how important it is to him, the administration, and the country, this case. But he is traveling to Miami tomorrow, as you all know, to give an economic address with the mayor of Miami and many global business leaders to talk about his historic success with the economy over the past 10 months and talk about sort of where we are headed as a country in terms of our economy. So he'll be traveling tomorrow on the road in Miami. That's why he won't be here, but Secretary Scott Bessent will be in attendance at the hearing tomorrow at the request of the president.
He has said that he doesn't want to export the high-end NVIDIA chips to China, but the Wall Street Journal reported yesterday that there was some question about whether the president would raise this as a possible concession with the Chinese side during his meeting with Xi Jinping. So does the White House consider NVIDIA chip exports to China to be a closed issue right now, or is this an ongoing negotiation between the United States, China, and NVIDIA at this point?
The president has made his position on this very clear, both to the Chinese and also to all of you. He's answered this question directly. As for the most advanced chips, the Blackwell chip, that's not something we're interested in selling to China at this time. Annie?
Does the president think that the results of the Virginia or New Jersey gubernatorial races tomorrow, or statewide races tomorrow, will in any way reflect a voter sentiment towards his administration?
Look, Annie, I'm not at liberty to talk about the election results, and I certainly won't get ahead of them. I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals that may or may not happen tonight. We'll have to watch and see. And I'm sure you'll hear directly from the president tomorrow on that point.
Quickly on SNAP, just really quickly, is there anything that prompted the president's tweet this morning? Because it did seem quite different from some of his other communications about SNAP. It seemed a little bit out of the left field. I'm just wondering if he had a conversation or if there's anything you're aware of that caused him to decide to, at around 11 o'clock, to send out that message.
Look, the president is constantly well read on the news, as you know, and he is very much aware we are in day 35 of a government shutdown in which these SNAP benefits, we're pushing them out the door. USDA put out that guidance to the states this morning. The president was aware of that, and he wants to make it very clear that these benefits are in jeopardy because of the Democrats, and they should just open the government so that we can continue getting these funds out the door in an easier and more efficient way.
There's some new reporting that just dropped a few minutes ago that the Trump administration is negotiating with the makers of Ozempic to sell some weight loss drugs for $149 a month. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. Do you have any more information on that? Can you confirm that?
I think the president has said himself in previous Most Favored Nations announcements that this is something that the administration has been engaged in and looking into. I won't get ahead of the president on any future announcements, but I will echo his strong commitment to bringing down drug prices in this country. And you've heard it directly from Secretary Kennedy and Dr. Marty McCary and his entire Health and Human Services team, how committed the president is to bringing down the cost of drugs, and we're working with pharmaceutical companies to do that every day.
Very quickly, Karoline, on SNAP. I know it's been asked, and I know Leach asked it, but I want to put a fine point on it. You talked about the president's post here, and he wrote that SNAP benefits will only be given when the radical left Democrats open up the government. I understand your previous answers, but as written, how would that not violate a court order as it's written?
I've now answered this question several times, Gabe. We are complying with the court's order. We are getting the payments out the door as quickly as we can. USDA sent the guidance to the state. The president is referring to future SNAP payments. He does not want to have to keep tapping in to an emergency fund and depleting it. In the case of a catastrophe in this country, he wants to have those funds preserved, as they should be. And he's made it very clear Democrats should reopen the government. I have one final positive note for all of you. I told you I would keep you posted when the White House would resume public tours. Well, I'm pleased to announce the Office of the First Lady has reopened the doors for public tours on Tuesday, December 2nd. There will be an updated route, of course, for guests in light of the ballroom construction that's taking place, but we very much look forward to celebrating the holiday season. And the public and members of Congress and anyone who wants to come visit the First Lady's beautiful decorations is welcome to go to whitehouse.gov/visit to sign up for a tour. Thanks, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Caroline.
We are not. We did it once. I regretted it.
I know, but the court order said, no,